Hey, girlfriends, we are live and we are on the Being Brave Tour podcast and welcome. And I have a lovely guest with me today, Jamie Peha. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and you know what is so fun to invite girlfriends to be on the podcast, have some conversations. And you were just recently featured in our latest issue of the Being Brave Tour magazine. And this is a topic that is close to my heart and just came up in a conversation with three other women and I didn't know some of these women, just met them, and conversation is coming up about what is next. How are we rewiring? How are we going from what we had in our lives to what is next? And that can look so different for so many different people. I mean, you can be, we're talking like 50 plus women.
Right.
And, maybe you're in corporate and you're thinking of a passion project or what's next or retirement, or maybe you're changing careers. I mean, there's so many different spaces for this rewirement. What is next in your life? And there's a quote too that Jamie Lee Curtis talks about.
Oh, I love her.
Yes, and I can't remember exactly the exact words, but she talks about, we're not done yet. We still have so
We're
much to
not done
create.
yet.
We have so much more to do, and what might that look like? So, ladies, we're going to talk with Jamie about this, and you can pull up your digital copy of the Being Brave Tour magazine. We'll put it in the comments and the show notes and all that kind of good stuff. So, Jamie, first of all, let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk about what is your story around this? Are you in that space of rewirement, and why is this so important to you to share?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, rewirement came to me from personal experience and having just gone through this process. And some of it is looking back and really saying, what did I go through to get to where I am right now? And so that's sort of how it was birthed, I guess. I was in a career for a really long time, a really great career in an industry that I was really passionate about. And I kind of, for what I was doing, was at the top of my career and finishing in a really public job that, gave me a lot of visibility. I was responsible for a lot of people, helping to promote an industry, and this is in the wine industry. So my last job was as the Auction of Washington Wine's executive director. And my age has something to do with this a little bit, and I won't share that just yet, but um, everyone kept asking me, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I hated the word. I'm like, every time somebody said, when are you going to retire? Which was over a couple of years, I just was shuddered. I was like, I don't like the word. And I felt like I was like, I'm going to retire. I'm going to die.
Oh,
I didn't like the word. And so
yeah.
it sparked me one day and I thought, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to rewire. And so I started using this word rewire and it really stuck with people. People were like, I like that, you
Yeah.
know? And so I started to think, okay, well, what is rewirement? What does that mean? What does it mean to me? I mean, life looked successful to me, but internally something was changing. And I think a lot of women reach the point that is kind of who am I now? And what
Yeah.
do I want this next chapter to be? And is there something more?
Yes.
Like I'm not done. It's kind of like you said, Jamie Curtis. I'm not done yet.
Yeah. And
And
there's so much to explore in that. And I love that's what these little reflections in the magazine, ladies. If you haven't seen it yet, we're going to walk through it. We're going to walk through and it's like a 10-minute reflection, a little me time to kind of ponder some thoughts too. And that's what I love too, is you give us some things to think about. To
right.
ask ourselves some questions. And so, ladies, a little bit what this is going to look like. We're going to walk through the little rewirement, that looks like, and then also to have a little challenge, a little 30-day challenge that we're going to walk through and what that will look like for you. So, yeah, so Jamie, tell us a little bit. So, when you think of rewire, what does that kind of mean to you?
Well, I think that women and myself too, you think about retirement financially. How am I going to retire financially?
Right.
And you kind of get that set like, okay, I can make that shift. It's going to be challenging, but I can do it because
Yeah.
you're used to working for your money to a certain extent. And then you're like, how do I make my money work for me so I can live my life in a different way? And
Yeah.
so that, that comes into play some in the consideration. But I think that rewirement meant to me that it isn't about something ending, it's about something beginning.
Mm.
And shifting that in your head, shifting that one point makes a huge difference. And it's like we don't need to be fixed, but we need space to reconnect with ourselves.
Yes, and I love what you talk about too, is about rewirement isn't about slowing down. It's
Right.
about intentionally designing what comes next.
That's
And
right.
I think you said something really important because that kind of, I have thought of retirement as a winding down.
Right.
And that did
Mhm.
not appeal to me because I've got a whole lot of energy. And it's like, what am I going to do with my energy and my time? How am I going to keep myself, occupied and all these things? And that's why I like this word rewire. It's like, how can we still have so much to give, I feel like, our wisdom, our lived experience, and those,
Exactly.
how can we put that into our life too and touch maybe lives of others, however that looks for you. But to have a fulfilled life
That's
that, and for myself it's creating because I love to create.
me too. It's creating and building. I love to,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really an idea person
Mhm.
and I love to connect the dots of things and make them bigger. You know,
Ooh.
I really do. I love to look at something and okay, well that goes with this and you could pull this in and then how do we, elevate all of those elements to make something bigger and something more meaningful. And for me that usually involves bringing other people in and other people's
Mhm.
skills in and looking at a bigger talent pool, if you will, of how to showcase all parts of that to create something bigger. So that's one way. I think that, I mean, just as a step back for a second, on
Mhm.
rewiring, I think that a lot of high achieving women, we have spent decades caring for other people
Mhm.
and working to perform to get results to means to an end and that is what became your identity, what became connected to productivity, to leadership. It might be motherhood for some people, caregiving, and then when life shifts and you're like, okay, well, I'm disconnected here. I feel restless. I don't know. I don't want to become invisible. I don't want to be afraid of something new. And there's also like, a little bit of like fear and guilt in like making this change because it is a big change, but it doesn't have to be a negative. It doesn't have to be a negative. There's a lot of reframing that can happen.
Yes, this is such a timely conversation because I went to coffee yesterday and ran into a friend, and then she had two other friends that popped in too.
Okay.
This was the conversation, Jamie.
Oh, so funny.
We were talking about, what? Sometimes we feel disconnected, just like you said. We're feeling like we're not producing anything where we're used to having these, that end goal. And what is that going to be like? How are we going to spend our social time? So even though I have a project, this magazine that I'm doing, but still I feel a little disconnected in my social life because I don't have that space kind of rewired, if you will. And what might that look like? So we're tossing around, like you said, ideas of what could that look like? And I think that's what I'm enjoying about this reflection of yours too, because it got me thinking. And some of the things that came up in the conversation were like right out of your reflection. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just so timely about what this could look like. So tell us a little bit, kind of, you have created this little kind of little steps that starts, it's renew, reconnect. I don't have my glasses on.
It's renew,
Yeah,
it's release, renew, reflect, reconnect, and reclaim.
there we go.
And
And put it right there.
honestly, it's I created this wheel, kind of
Yeah,
this path, if you will, for these steps. And again, this sort of
yeah.
started to come to me as I was going through this. As I was going through the transition, I was like, well, where am I? What are these processes that I'm going through? It's almost like the stages of grief, almost, as you go through these things, except for I don't want to compare it that way because it's way more positive than that. But for me, I wrote this thinking renew was the first step. But as I look at the wheel that I created, I think you have to start with release.
You do.
And
I
so,
agree.
and so for me, release was the hardest step.
Yeah.
Release was the hardest step, and it took me a long time to make that decision. And, again, it did involve some fear and some grief. And it was like, well, what do I need to let go of?
Yeah.
You know,
So, what was it for you? What was kind of one of the big sticky points for you that you were just kind of hanging on to, like, I'm not sure I'm ready to release that?
I had created a version of myself that was, really tied to what I was doing and who I was in that world. And I wasn't ready to it wasn't like letting it go entirely. Like, what did that mean? What did it mean to let it go? What am I? Who am I when I let this go? Like, I don't have this career anymore, and I'm not going to all these events that were part of what I'm doing. And I wasn't networking in the same crowd I was with before that was really tied to my identity for 30 something years. And I just didn't know. And then it was like, uh, what what is that next? Is it too late for me to be something else? I mean, like, or create something else for myself? Like, what does that mean? And I think what I found is that you cannot step into what's next while you're carrying around everything from who you were or what that is to you, and to be able to look at, well, wait, I can, and this is how this started for me. How can I take because I loved my career and I loved many of the aspects of what I was doing, and that was the hard part to let go of. It's like, but I really like this part. But there
I
were
know.
other parts that had become like, no, this doesn't fill me anymore. I don't want to do that part of it anymore. And so I really stepped back and said, what do I love about what I do? And how do I take those parts of what I love and intentionally design that into the next part of my life?
Yes, yes. And I think that as I'm hearing that too, so many for myself too, I was not willing to let go of that last thing that was familiar because it was part of my previous life I had.
Right.
But I love how you say, let's dissect that a little bit. What are the pieces of that you like?
Right. Oh, and I did. And that is how I created my new business.
Oh, wow. Yes, it's so great. And so reflecting, you talk about when have I felt most energized or fulfilled? And that's kind of dissecting those pieces, if you will. So what came
Absolutely.
forward for you?
Well, I will say that this part, the reflect part for me was really a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
It was one I had sort of been I'm kind of a thinker, and my brain doesn't really stop that often, and so I'm always thinking, but I'm also kind of a heartfelt person, and so I review things a lot, and people are important to me. So my mind is always kind of working around those things. And so I had kind of been doing this already. And I will say it was a pleasant experience, but there is a shadow side to it. And you're reliving all the great parts of your life, of your career, of people you've met, of accomplishments you've had. And then there's also some parts where, that situation didn't go very well, or I didn't connect with that person and I still remember that. Or so there's the shadow side, which is why looking back is important, because your past leaves clues for you. It leaves clues for looking at those moments when you felt most alive. What did matter to you at those moments? And what reconnects me to joy, to purpose, creativity, and I often am moving so fast in my career as it was that I didn't pause long enough to notice those
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
I don't think the past defines you, but I do think it reveals you.
Yes. Like you said, it leaves you clues. But one of the questions that I loved most is what made you feel most alive? And that's no a question I have really thought a lot about. And so I thought, what did make me feel really alive? What were those pieces? Yeah.
For me, honestly, it is people.
Yeah.
I am energized by people. I'm energized by people's stories. I love to, when I meet somebody, ask questions about them, find out, what makes them tick. That actually makes me excited.
Yeah.
Like that sparks me. Is like, hell, and I feel like with that, after interviewing and hiring people for many years and trying to pull out of people what their skills are and how to use those skills, that looking into people that way and finding their sweet spot and helping them recognize it is
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
makes me excited. It gives me a spark. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of what I think about. I mean, renewing, again, it's searching for what's meaningful to you, but providing a new direction. And you become curious and you start asking, what excites me now? What have I ignored? It's not always some dramatic thing. I mean, I'm a dramatic person, so for me it was dramatic, but sometimes it's quiet. Like what did I really love? Oh, I loved the fact that I got to travel with my work. I loved that I got to do that. I love the fact that I could create new programs. There was a lot of creativity in
Mm-hmm.
that. I liked many of the friendships and people that I met through my career. And how do I, when I would go into a room of people as a representative of an industry, it was like, I mean, so for me, it's like I'm on stage. I mean, I just want to connect and be on and pull out the best of people and represent the industry in the best way, create excitement for people. And I knew I loved that feeling.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to figure out how do I take that, make it more purposeful for other people instead of just what I'm doing in my career? And how do I take that feeling and create something around it that will be more purposeful?
Yeah, that's a great example of kind of how to maybe walk through that kind of that process and thinking about it. So the next part is about renewing. Um, if you could design the next chapter of your life, what would it include?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of the question, what becomes possible now?
Yes.
And once you've kind of identified those things that you love or that you want to take with you, I think it becomes easier to look at that. Um, and this is where maybe you want to do what do you call a mood board? Like cut things out of a magazine that like, oh, I love that they're showing me pictures of a cute little street in Italy, or I love that,
Yes.
that is a picture of a woman at a spa. Like the different things that move you, a group of people celebrating or dancing, or like what are the things that light you up when you see them?
Yeah.
And for no reason. And I think when I do a mood board, I mean, I'm literally, if something sparks me, I'm like, okay, cut that out. I may not know why at the moment, but
Uh-huh.
if it connects with me right there. So I think that's where in renewal you have the ability, give yourself permission to to see what sparks you. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what it's about.
Yeah, and in your 30-day challenge too, there is one point too that you ask us about is to create a curiosity list.
That's right.
I
That's
love
right.
that. It's like I've never heard of that. And I also love that idea of a mood board because when people ask me what I want, so after going through so many challenges and life changes, people would say, "Well, you get to do what you want," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know what it is I want." I mean, well, that was and it still sometimes is a struggle for me. But when I think about it, of how I want to feel,
Yeah. It's how you want, what are you going to do that gives you the feeling that you want?
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to feel special. I want to feel beautiful.
Right.
So going to a spa is right up my alley. I'm like, yeah, they just make you feel beautiful. You
Yeah.
have no makeup or anything on, but
Yeah.
they just make
It-
it's just like being
It's that
pampered,
feeling. That's right.
and I just feel like, oh, I just deserve that
I,
so much.
right. Every week we need a spa appointment. That's what I say. Um, yeah. So renewal is all about giving yourself permission to find the things that make you feel good and that give you meaning and give you. I mean, spark is an important word to me.
Yeah.
It's that moment of recognition that something touches you, something moves you. Just that moment, and that moment is enough to get you on a path.
Oh, so girls, look for those sparks. Maybe it's when you're with a girlfriend and you're having a conversation. I mean, yesterday that was a spark for me. Having this meaningful, there's one woman who she started having this meaningful conversation about how we be and these different things and different resources. And we're going back and forth. And that's a spark for me.
Yeah.
I said, that's what I want. I want these meaningful conversations like this where we're kind of challenging our thoughts
Mhm.
and where we're at. So lots of great things. So let's kind of just go quickly through these next couple ones. There's reconnect, reclaim, and then we're on to rewire.
Okay. Well, reconnect. This is a big one because there's a lot of self reflection here. I mean, not going back to reflect, but you don't just reconnect one time. You know what I mean? I mean, you're reconnecting throughout your life. And what I find is that it's a constant ebb and flow because I may feel really connected to many things in my life, my voice, my intuition, what my passions are. I'm in the flow, as they call it,
Yeah.
right? But then there are moments where I know that something is off. Something is off. And what is it? And then I have to look at all those aspects and say, oh, I'm not feeling fulfilled in my relationship. I'm not, something I'm not feeling as confident when I'm meeting new people. I mean, whatever it is that feels like it's off and you're not in the flow, I think you have
Mhm.
to identify that when you're reconnecting so that you can return to that balanced place where you are in the flow. And so it
Right.
comes and goes, you know?
Yes, and it's interesting that you should talk about this, and I'm thinking of examples in my own life
Yeah,
that,
of course.
might spur something in someone else too, is I love, so I've done some reflecting and I'm like, okay, I do love being in groups of women.
Yes, you do.
But I noticed it's only certain types of groups because in some of them I don't feel connected.
Uh-huh.
So if it's just a social group, which is lovely and it's fun and all these things, but I don't always feel connected. I
Mhm.
need to have a particular kind of framework. It's like fun with a purpose for me.
Right.
I need
Exactly.
to have there needs to be something about why we're all meeting, whether maybe it's a Bible study or
Right.
a book club
Right.
or something.
Right.
That for me, that's what I need.
I hear you. I
I
think
need a
that's great.
destination,
That you
a
have
purpose.
recognized that is really a big deal.
Yeah, because I
That was
don't get fulfilled when I'm just in certain social
right.
situations, and
Right.
I like small groups
Yeah.
of for socializing. So what's that reclaim? We're moving down the track here.
Reclaiming is to me was this is where you've done a lot of the path. You've looked back, you've imagined forward, you've recognized things in yourself that you like and things that you want to bring forward. Reclaiming is where you are designing your life with intention and owning your path. You have to own it. I'm like, you need to own it. And I said that a lot as a leader, as a manager.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is yours. You own it. Because when there's ownership involved, you have more in the game, really.
You
And
do.
I think knowing that, hey, this is mine, I own it.
Oh,
It's a confidence builder. I think it gives you a
yes.
shift to how you approach things, how you approach people, a renewed sense of yourself. And also for me, what came into it, because I am a worker, I love to work and I love the 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 fulfillment that working on projects with people brings me. I
Yeah.
like that. But what I didn't do a lot of in my career, although I had a career in a fabulous industry that had a lot of fun in it, I didn't let myself play enough. And
Oh,
so, what I have found during this process and during reclaiming is claiming some of my younger self when
oh,
play was more important. And
yeah.
I have noticed in my rewirement that my persona is more relaxed for sure, but that some of those playful things are coming back and
Yeah.
some of those things that were like just fun and like where my personality was and my sense of humor and those things are coming up more now that I'm reclaiming who I am.
Yes, and I'm noticing that in other women too, and in myself, that it's like, oh, now we get to just be who we are, and we get to create, but we also get to have fun along the way. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
rock on, this is great.
Yeah,
We
it
really
is.
get to, we get to have this opportunity to rewire.
And just to sum that up, I would say that reclaiming is not about becoming someone new, which has kind of been the theme throughout. It's about returning to yourself.
Yes, yes. So part of my story coming through transitions during my the 5 years of where a lot of things were happening. One woman came back to me and she said I had known her for like 30 years,
Yep.
and she goes, Karen, welcome back. She goes, you used to be so vibrant. She
Oh,
goes, and it faded over the years. And she goes, you're back. And
that
I
gives
thought,
that gives me the
oh,
chill because
oh my
honestly,
gosh.
when someone
So
notices it,
my word is vibrancy.
nice.
That energy, that lust, and desire to live and to have fun and play and create and all these different things. So, yeah, isn't that great?
It is great. And I think when someone notices that in you,
Mm,
you feel like, oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's really great. And it's coming off that way, and that's who I want to be.
Yes. So for women who are listening, what is
Mhm.
your word? What's your word that you want to reconnect with yourself? And Jamie, I think you said your word, a little bit about playful, that
Yeah,
spark.
right. Yeah.
Um,
I think for me it is that spark because I think, and not just a spark in me, but spark in other people. Like I love to see people light up. I
yeah.
love to see them light up. And like when I see that someone is in their flow, like for me, in
Mhm.
your flow means everything about your aura is in the right place and that's what's coming out of you. And I'm like, you are in the flow. And that means, what you're working on is great. Where you are in life is great. How you're coming off to people is great. You're in the flow. Life is working for you. You're on the path you set out for yourself. And so that's kind of I think what Spark does for me and what I see in other people. And I love to recognize that in other people when they are there because I swear to God I can see it.
Yeah, that's great. So let's just walk real quickly as we are starting to wrap up this 30-day rewirement path
Yep.
challenge.
Yep.
And so, girls, and so let them know, are they trying to do all of these things that are listed or just pick one, or what does it kind of
You
look like?
know,
So
we're
let's talk about week one.
okay. Hang on one second here while I pull it up so that I'm talking about the same thing.
So I do have it here. So
Okay.
week one is release.
Okay. Uh,
And so you have the options. It says let go of one outdated story,
okay.
clear one drawer or digital folder. I really like that.
Yeah. Well, I am telling you now, this is not, it's not rocket science,
Yeah,
right?
no, but it's
It,
fun.
it's not rocket science. And I think that was part of it. Like, what is easy? How do I go through this rewirement path and actually feel like I have something actionable from it? You know what I mean? Like that I didn't just go through these steps and think through all these things, but I actually made some progress so that at the end of 30 days, you're like,
Yay.
you get what the path is because you've kind of done a few things in each area that are tangible.
Right.
I love clear out one drawer. I think that's
I know.
great because I
I
swear
know.
organizing anything physically helps you organize your brain, your thought
Yes.
process. The reflect part, I think one thing, and I think this is hard for some people to do, but ask three people what strengths they see in you,
Yeah.
right?
That doesn't feel comfortable.
No, it's not comfortable, but I think people would be surprised
Yeah.
how easily people want to share that information with you when you ask, and most people are not asked those questions. And so, but I feel like especially women want to help. We want to help.
Yes. Yes.
We want to support other women. Uh,
Yes, I agree.
I think with Renew, try something new. Try a new class. Learn a new tool. I mean, we're in with AI right now. If you're a working person, you're probably using it. And so, learn something new about AI this week. I mean, that we're all doing it anyway. So
Right.
that
So here's one. When I was approaching my 50th birthday, I had talked with my cousin, and she said she was just a little bit older than me, and she said, when she turned 50, she was challenged to do something new for 50 days.
oh,
one new
see how
thing.
that's
But what it
wonderful.
did is, and it was like simple things like if you usually walk this way on your walk,
Oh,
walk
uh-huh.
that way. And so that
Got it.
reminded me of this, of just trying something new. It doesn't have to be something big,
No, no,
but
but
it literally, it shakes up your brain a little bit like, oh, I didn't even know that path looked like that. There was
that's
this beautiful,
so true.
cluster
So
of trees or
true.
whatever,
I mean,
shake things
honestly,
up a bit.
yeah, these are not, they're not difficult. You just have to take the time to do it, And the other thing is watching or reading something that you normally, like you said, normally wouldn't do. Like I mean, I don't watch a lot of documentaries. I guess I'm really into drama. I like to watch, dramatic shows and
Yes.
series and stuff that pulls my attention in because it's kind of a escape for me, I guess. That's one escape that
Yes.
I have is other stories, right?
Yes.
And so,
Same here.
so I'm like, okay, well, why don't you watch a documentary on animals in Africa or, something just that I wouldn't normally be thinking about every day, although I'm thinking about it more now because I'm traveling, but
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So just a simple thing like that. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
And so in the reconnect and reclaim, the thing that really spoke to me here is this statement that you said to write for yourself. I am becoming someone who,
right.
yeah. And for me, that just
Yep,
right now pops into my head is someone who is curious about life,
right.
curious about other people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you may becoming, it's hard to say just one thing, right? I'm
Yeah.
becoming this. Like I am becoming a person, I am becoming a woman who really wants to make a difference for other women and help them, and help because to me, the way I've designed my business, Peha Ventures, Travel, Wine, Life, which were the three parts of my working life over 35 years that really meant something to me. And I had to do a lot of reflection on what goes into the life bucket. And this is where the rewirement path falls for me is the life
Okay.
pocket. It's not just living my life. I mean, yes,
Right.
there's a lot of things in there. But for me, what was going to give me a deeper purpose that wasn't necessarily about me? I
Yes.
mean, what can I give back in a way that will fill me, but will not be about me?
Wow. Oh, that is, and I think so many women who I have spoken with, that is a thought of theirs. They haven't been able to say it quite that way, but I think that's so many women, that's what we're looking for. Is there something more? Is there
Right.
something where we can give of our time and talents that will fulfill us and make an impact? And my son framed it this way one time to me. He goes, Mom, how can you enrich society? How can you enrich your life and those around you?
Wow. You know what? The younger population totally gets it. I swear.
I'm like, who's your parent? Where did you get that from?
I think that's really, really, really
And
true.
I'm like, okay, so I take that with me wherever I go. But that is that same type of thing. How can we give of ourselves but still be fulfilled?
Mm.
And because before, so much of it, we were in a different space and other expectations around it and whatnot. So, Jamie, as we are closing out, what would you like to leave the ladies with?
I would like to leave them with find your spark.
Yeah, find your
Find
spark,
your
girls.
spark and
Yeah,
if you can't
and
find
share
it,
it.
find somebody who can help you find it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Um, and you don't have to have, here's the other thing, you don't have to have it all figured out. I didn't have a perfect plan. My
No.
business that I created came out of this process. It wasn't like, oh, I had a business plan and I'm going to do X, Y, and
Right.
Z. It has to evolve. So I guess maybe one thing to leave them with is what is one step you're ready to take next?
Yeah,
Just even
girls.
one step.
And realize you don't have to do it alone.
Mhm.
There are many, many women that you can tap into, do the reflection in the magazine, download it. We're starting to have the magazines being loaded up onto Amazon. So you have a paper copy and you can write in it and all kinds of fun things. But yes, there are women here that you can tap into, connect with. They're happy to work with you, to walk you through some of these processes to discover your spark. And Jamie, thank you so much for coming and having this conversation and bringing it to light and bringing it to the table, because we're all sometimes struggling just a little bit. And it's just so nice to go, oh, I'm not the only one.
It is nice, and I am really loving this connection too because it has opened up a new horizon of women for me as well. And I have lots of people in my life, but this is different. This is new. It's fun, and I think there's a lot of women in the same place as you said. So it's a nice part of life. I do want to add one thing. I just have to add one thing because part of where this started for me was the whole when I went back to the retirement and didn't want to retire. I was like, I am in the act three of my life, right? I'm going to be turning 70 in September. And
Wow.
the thing
Never know it.
is, I know I don't look 70, I don't
You
act
don't.
70, but here's the thing. It because people kept asking me when I was going to retire, it made me feel like, oh my gosh, I must be really old. Everyone's asking me this. And I started to think to myself, you know, women at this age, at an older age, we have more experience, more wisdom, more empathy, more compassion, more skills. We have all those things that we've built on for a lifetime, and we are not done yet. And I started to think about, I understand why there's 40 under 40 and 30 under 30, okay? Because these are the people coming up in society and community that will eventually be the leaders of the city, let's say. But what about 60 over 60? I was like, I'm going to create 60 over 60 and find 60 women whose stories I can tell who are actually living their lives with intention
Yeah.
and they have rewired. And because there's a huge learning in there for a lot of people, no matter what age you are, there's learning here. You don't have to be over 60. That was just something that made me feel like, how do I not feel invisible turning 70 and still wanting to be a part of everything?
Right, right. I think that sounds great. 60 over 60 and sharing those stories. So, ladies, come join us. We're going to have some fun. We're going to find our spark and what lights you up. So, loved having you with us and having the conversation, Jamie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Karen. It was really great to chat with you.
You too.